It's Titanium Tuesday. What's up, everybody? Today, in our newest episode of the Doren Metal Art Workshop webisode, Metal Art Madness Extravaganza, we are going to pay homage to the mighty chop saw. The tool of tools. It's my favorite tool in the whole workshop that's a power tool. This thing is so badass. In fact, if you go to almost any what they call cut shop in the world, which is a shop that actually sells metal in all sorts of different shapes and sizes, and I'll show you a little bit more about that in a minute, really the only power tool they're gonna have in the shop is the chop saw. The reason being, come on with me, let me show you guys something. Come here. So here's the deal. Most of the metal in the world is made up of all different shapes and sizes in order to be put in different applications, commercial, residential. You've got tube, you've got rod, you've got square tube, you've got hollow tube, you've got rebar, you've got strap, you've got angle iron. All of this metal comes typically, depending on what country you're in 20-foot lengths. So you go to the shop, you go, ooh, I want a piece of metal. But you don't want a 20-foot piece of metal. You want to cut it up into, let's say, 5 feet, or you want to cut it up into 10 2-feet pieces, or 2 10-foot pieces, which is what we usually do because we never know how much of it we're going to want to use. So what do you use to cut it? You use the chop saw. So come on, let me show you guys how this bad boy works. Now, the crazy thing about metal is that the blades that are typically used to cut metal are disposable. And the reason is that way you're not having to sharpen the blade. It actually is designed to be disposable. So it stays sharp, gets smaller and smaller and smaller, wears out, and then you toss it, grab a new one. So what this blade is actually made out of is actually a bunch of rock particulate that's been glued together. It's almost like the stuff they use to make asphalt. And when I touch it now, not sharp. I can rub my hand on it. It's a little rough, but it's fine. But once that bad boy gets going, ooh, it'll cut through anything, my hand included. So you gotta be safe, safety first, okay? Now that I've told you some of the basics about the chop saw, let me describe its components. You've got several things going on here. The first is the vise. Now the vise is incredibly important because it's gonna hold your metal in place. And it also allows you to move the angle of the cut. What that means is right now it's set up at a 90-degree angle. So the saw comes down at a perpendicular motion in relation to the metal. But what you can also do is set it up at all the way to a 45-degree angle so you can make different cuts depending on what you need. You've also got a saw blade that is disposable, again, made out of rock particulate that's been glued together. That saw blade will get smaller and smaller until it becomes so small that it won't make cuts anymore and you actually have to switch it out. It's an easy switch up. We've moved the safety in order for you to be able to see the saw more intricately, and we've also got a trigger that is on the handle. That's what's going to allow you to turn the saw on. Now you can use it one-handed or you can use it two-handed. The motor is also a place for you to put a secondary hand, either left or right, depending on your dominant side, for balance. The saw is made with a spring-loaded forearm so that you can push the saw down and then it will spring back up, assisting you with cuts. And that is the chop saw. So what happens with the chop saw is, when it turns on, it's loud. You know that it's on, and it's gonna throw sparks. I love when I do a demonstration of this thing to use a piece of hollow tube because you actually see a waterfall of sparks coming out of each side. Now what we've done is, on ours, we pulled the safety back just for this demonstrational video because I wanted you to see as much of the saw as possible to really get an idea of how it works and what its application is. So, of course, gloves always, eye protection always, safety first. Now what I'm gonna do first is lock it in. I'm gonna use my vise, and that's because if I don't lock it in, okay, when I start to cut, it's gonna waggle all around and get all crazy and I don't want my metal moving. It's gonna screw my cut up in terms of accuracy, but it's also dangerous, okay? So I need to lock it in, make sure that I'm right where I wanna be, okay? And I'm gonna put my lovely glasses on to protect mis ojos. And then What I like to do is, a lot of people will stand in front of the chop saw like this, and they'll kind of reach in. It's designed to reach up and pull down. But the problem is then you're sending sparks towards you. Some are going back, some are going out the sides. Lots of times they'll have chop saws on the ground, and guys will just lean down and or they'll have it on a little bit of a raised table like we have made here. But what we've found is it's actually wonderful to step to the side of the chop saw. You actually put your left hand here, reach over here with your right, and you use your thumb to depress the trigger, and that way you have lots of control and balance, but you're out of the way of the actual chop saw's sparks. Now, here's the deal. When I turn this on, even through the YouTube channel, you guys are gonna be like, oh my God, you're gonna like jump back, okay? Because everybody thinks, oh, sparks, fire, death. No, that's not how it works, okay? If a spark hits you when you're operating anything from a chop saw or a grinder or a welder, for the most part, it's mildly irritational, won't leave a mark. We just say it's the metal reminding you you're alive, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you first what the noise level is on this thing. Are you ready for me to turn it on? You ready to rock? Let's do it, watch. Oh, it's kind of loud. Now I'm sure that I could just reach my hand in, right? Because it's not on, I'm not touching the trigger. No, no, no. No, what? No, oh, no. And here's why. Because it's happy to cut anything, your fingers, your arm, your hand included. It doesn't care what it cuts. It's like, oh, I'm cutting something, I'm having so much fun. So what you don't want to have happen is you stick your hand in to grab the piece of metal you've cut a little too early, and you wish you could have had that 3 seconds back. What happens in the world of metal is people start to move too quick. They go, oh, I'm so confident, I'm so good at this. I'm just gonna reach my hand in while the thing's still going. Ooh, and then they get nicked, okay? And the gloves give you about 1/10 of a get out of jail free card, but almost nothing. It'll eat through gloves in less than a second. So, what you always wanna do is make your cut, wait till the blade stops spinning, and then move your metal out, okay? So let me show you actually how the cut's gonna work. I'm gonna go down nice and slow, okay? It's a measured pressure, okay? Not too fast, I'm not gonna slam it down. I wanna start the machine before I hit the metal, then go all the way through. Now when I get to the bottom of the metal, it's gonna be a little bit more difficult for me to press through because now I'm going through the 2 walls and the bottom, okay? And the machine's gonna have to work a little bit harder. But I'm gonna show you guys. You guys ready to see some sparks fly? Watch this, totally badass. Now, a lot of people, when they look at this thing, go, oh my God, it's so intimidating, I don't know. But when you use it, what you realize is it's empowering. And you want to do it again and again. I have people come through the workshops all the time. We just did our 180th workshop. We've had over 600 projects in the last 3 years since we started. And in all that time, what'll happen is somebody will be like, ooh, I don't know if I can use the chop saw. Then they'll use it and they'll go, ooh, yeah, I need to cut this thing. Is that for your project? Yeah, maybe. And it's really just they want an excuse to use it because it's so cool. Okay, let me show it to you guys one more time, okay? I'm gonna loosen my vise, slip it through, just give myself a little bit of metal to cut. And I'm gonna show you guys one more time. Check this out. Nice measured push, all right? Now typically what's gonna happen is my metal will fall off to the side. I can lean down. But again, make sure that blade stops spinning before you reach in and adjust your metal, okay? So, I hope you guys have enjoyed learning about the chop saw, kind of understanding it. I hope you guys practice at home. Get some gloves, get some eye protection, get yourself a chop saw, get yourself some metal, and start cutting, because what you're gonna realize is this thing is incredibly versatile. It can be used to cut so many different thicknesses and types of metal, and it's just my favorite bad boy. So, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Remember to like, remember to subscribe, remember to share, tell all your friends, and we will see you in the next episode of the Metal Art Workshop here at Van Doren Studio.